It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Ottawa Gee Gee head men's rugby coach, Coach James Flemming. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brandon. Excited to be on here. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college men's rugby?
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't at first. I was still playing for U Ottawa when I was first introduced to coaching. My head coach at the time, Andrew Bones Armstrong, he introduced me to his friend Ian Middleton, who was coaching at Ashbury College, and asked if I could help out there. So I said, yeah, sure, this would be a cool thing to try. And things went well at Ashbury. I'm actually still helping out there now. And then from there, when I was done playing, Bones asked me if I'd like to come coach U Ottawa, and the rest is history. So,
What was that experience like playing at U Ottawa?
well, playing there was unbelievable. The culture that comes along with the team is probably what makes you never want to leave. And I think I'm very guilty of that. I stayed as long as I possibly could. And it's just the way that everybody treats each other, and also the environment, obviously, on game day and getting to compete with those people that mean so much to you. It was a pretty wicked experience all around.
For you as a player, what was that experience like putting on that rugby uniform?
Well, I think it's special, right? And one thing that I always told the guys when I was playing, and even when I'm coaching now, is that there's over 40,000 students at U Ottawa, and only 25 per weekend get to put on a rugby jersey for the team. So it's quite a low percentage. And when you expand that to the entire country and how many men's university rugby players get to play for the first every weekend, it's an honor and a privilege and you're honoring those that came before you, the ones that you play with, and those that'll come next. And it's quite a special feeling.
Coming out of college, what was that experience like getting to travel the world and playing professional rugby?
Anytime you can travel the world and play, it's always a good time. Some of my travels were certainly not on the professional side or anything close to it. But I had some cool experiences getting to go overseas with Canada to Italy and things like that, which was cool. And then with some affiliate teams going to Dubai. And then, of course, I've been blessed to take a trip to New Zealand, South Africa, Central America, stuff like that. And those have always been cool. I think the coolest things about those is just meeting new people, seeing new cultures, seeing how people treat each other differently around the world. And then also just getting the opportunity to meet those individuals and hear their viewpoints on life, see their worldviews, and then also obviously dive into the game and see how rugby's different. Uh, Additionally, I think it's no secret that Canada, the weather here is not great at times. And anytime the escapes can happen when it's cold here, that's certainly a bonus as well.
What was that experience like for you getting to coach in New Zealand?
Well, it was pretty practical, right? So the first bit was a lot of like watching and learning and sitting in on things and being taught the ways that they did things there culturally, both within the organization and around. Speaking to tons of professional coaches, the general manager, everybody in the organization, and then kind of getting a feel for things, and then obviously having the opportunity to bring that out on the pitch and give things a go with some pretty great rugby minds around was invaluable experience. And I brought as much of that as I can back to U Ottawa to try and make things better for our guys here.
For you, what was that like coming back home to U Ottawa and becoming the next head coach?
Well, it was a bit surreal. I think Bones and I knew there was going to be a day where that might happen. It just came a little sooner than we thought. And at first, I was like, man, I don't know, like I've always been keen to give this a go, but I think I need a bit more time. He goes, no, you're ready. Like, trust me. And I said, okay, well, my deal is this then. And I said to Bones, I said, you got to stick around with me and help me out because he means so much to the team and he means so much to me as a mentor and as a man. So it means a lot to have him stick around, and things just worked out.
What was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that field for the first time as a head coach?
Oh man, well, I was just hoping we weren't going to lose. I didn't want to start 0-1. and and it was we hadn't lost on that field since 2019 at home. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, oh man, we're playing a great team, ETS, and they were the defense. Well, they ended up winning the national championship that season. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, well, you know what? Like we've got a hell of a team that's going to go compete with these guys. But the one thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to start my debut off with a loss, and that was a real gutsy performance by the guys to get themselves a victory and also put a win in my column off my first game.
After getting announced as head coach, what was that process like building the coaching staff and the players around you?
Well, to start, like I was already on the staff, and we were just coming off a championship, so I didn't want to change too many things with regards to who was in the building. So we actually basically retained the exact same staff. I just brought on one more person, and I've made changes a bit now as time's gone on. But at first, like if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So for me, it was just more so, okay, like let's get used to the new roles here. The planning's going through me now. The ideas and the things that we're doing on and off the pitch are through me now, and I need to find more ways to connect with the players. Recruiting's got to take a step up, and all that sort of stuff. And of course, there's a bit more administrative duties on my shoulders. So I think from there, it was just adjusting to the new role and keeping the familiar faces in the building, make the turnover as smooth as possible, and then as my feet get wet here, just keep trying to keep things going right in the right direction.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've started to build for the men's rugby program?
Yeah, well, it's come a long way. When I came here as a player, it wasn't a place where we needed it to be. And I think it became sort of the idea of how we train and the environments that we're in. Like when I first got there, the team wasn't even lifting weights together, and there was no plan. And then from a high performance standpoint, like tactically, there wasn't much of a plan either. So we turned that around. And I think the most important thing to me was culturally the changes that have happened, and sort of emphasizing to the players the values of care and connection and what those mean. And what I mean by that is, finding as many ways to connect off the pitch as we can. And that's it's important, right? Because we don't want to just see each other as rugby players. And then through those connections over time, you go have a team barbecue, you go for a swim, you go to the spa, you play a little spike ball with the fellows, you get a 2K tournament going or anything like that. And over time with those connections, you develop the sense of care. And then that just makes you want to stay. It's a place where you're comfortable, a place where you're happy to be. And then, over time when you're on the pitch and it's people you care about, you're more willing to throw your body on the line. So I think care and connection are just such important words. And through that, that's what creates the culture.
What has that evolution been like, going from being a player for the university to now being the head coach?
Well, I mean, it's obviously there's just more control now. And the evolution at times is tough because I just want to step out there and play with them because I'm still quite passionate about the team. And I'm not too fat yet, so I could probably rip around at least for maybe a half a season. I don't think I could last a full season anymore or anything like that. But yeah, the transition, it's just been different. And it's as I'm approaching 30, like how can I take my passion to the game and contribute in a way where I'm most valuable to the team? And as far as I'm concerned, that's not as an athlete anymore. And so now it's just about getting as good as I can at coaching and learning as much as I can over time to try and help this team in the way that I can the best.
What does a typical rugby match look like for you as a head coach versus for your athletes?
It's a bit different for me. So it's all about preparing tactically the week of, making sure the guys are at the right performance zones heading into the game. They're not too tired out at certain points and they're feeling bouncy, they're feeling fresh. Also making sure that they're psychologically ready, that we're all on the same page with the plan, and that they're just ready to go rip. Because theoretically, once the ball's kicked off, I kind of lose control till halftime. There are some stoppages where I can get a word in and everything, but rugby's such a freestyle, autonomous game where the players have to be free, and so the decisions and all of the navigating of chaos will be up to them. And then I'll get my word pregame and at halftime. For them, it's mainly just making sure that they're psychologically and physiologically prepared for combat. So they'll need to do more things, right? They need to worry about their nutrition, their hydration, that they're getting a good sleep, that they're mentally on the same page as their teammates, et cetera, et cetera. They need to do warm up, all that, where I'm just kind of walking around waiting for showtime. So
Who have been some of the teams in your conference that you compete against?
So we would play against, we have a 6-team conference other than us, so there's technically 7. And then within that structure, then if you're lucky enough to be a top 2 seed or sometimes just the winner of your league, then you get to go compete for the Canadian University Men's Rugby Championship, which would be equivalent to a national championship. So within our conference, then it would be McGill, ETS, Bishops, Concordia, Montreal, and Carleton. So those would be our 6 opponents. The last year, the most competitive opponents for us would have been McGill and ETS. ETS being the team that we played in the final, and the one that I was just telling you about that we had the close game with at the start. We also had a close final with them, and then they ultimately they climbed the mountain and won the national championship. So kudos to them.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Bishop comes to home versus going to McGill?
Well, every barn brings its own differences. Ours is surrounded by buildings, so it makes a pretty cool atmosphere. And I think our game day staff does a great job of blaring the tunes, and then the fans come in. We try to invite as many people from the community as we can to grow that. And I think referencing Bishops when they come specifically, it's always quite fun because a lot of the Bishops guys are from Ottawa, so you'll have their friends and family come out. And I'm sure that they love to come home and play and then see all their friends and family after. So it's quite a fun atmosphere, and there's just something special about the buzz on that pitch when we're out there. Still don't quite know what it is, but there is a special feeling. McGill, being the second one you asked about, McGill is massive. They play at Molson Stadium, so that would be the same place that the Montreal Alouettes play at. And that's quite an electric place to be in as well. Their fans are always quite rowdy and ready to go, and they'll say whatever they need to say to try and get you off your game. And it's a cool stadium atmosphere versus ours being more of a closed-in atmosphere, but both are special places to lace up.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective rugby players?
Well, for me, I find every single year there's always some guys that we miss that will just reach out to us and they come to camp and we're like, well, how did we not hear about this guy? But it's a blessing that they show up. But typically for me, what I'll do is I'll try to exercise as much as I can to find out about the best players that are around. And I'll go to watch as many games as I can, especially in the Ottawa area, because that's accessible for me. I'll watch as many high school rugby games as I can. But additionally, an important thing for me is also just is canvassing the character of those individuals. So I'll be watching them, obviously identify, yeah, this guy's awesome, or this guy's huge, or this guy's fast, or whatever their X factor is. But I'll always want to speak to a coach or someone who's worked with them or a parent or anything like that, just to get a gauge on their character. Because ultimately, once they come to university, the important thing is how hard they're willing to work and how well they'll treat their teammates. A guy could be as talented as you want coming out of high school, come to university and just not be that guy that wants to work hard and he'll never hit his ceiling. I would rather have the guy that's willing to work every single time. We can do far more with that person. So then once we kind of find that, then it's more so just initiating the conversation, making sure their parents know about it or their guardian or whoever that is. And then we just have an honest chat about, hey, I think you'd be a great fit here. Do you want to hop on a call? And then we'll do that. And if they want to come for a tour of the university, go out for dinner with the family, anything like that to accommodate, it's pretty straightforward from there.
As a head coach in alma mater, what is it like seeing those freshmen putting on that uniform for the first time for the rugby program versus the last time?
Well, the first time's always special, and it's like, hey, how's this guy going to handle these new pressures? And typically, we do our best to not put a guy in until we feel he's ready. This year, we had some rookies right out of high school that got to lace up, and they were great under pressure, and that just tells us like, hey, you know what, this guy's going to be special. And I think it's cool to see them experience the feeling that we went through. And then in the same light, when you get the grads, it's far more emotional for me because, they're moving on to a new facet of life. We've done the best that we possibly can to produce a better man out of them and have them ready for society or the next level of rugby that he's going to play at. But you also know how much it's meant to them, how hard they've worked over time. And ultimately it's like, hey, okay, this is it. And I remember the exact feeling and you get quite emotional, but you do leave it all out there.
What is that experience like getting to see them going on and competing, whether it's professionally in rugby or getting into coaching?
Yeah, I mean, any way that if guys stay in the game that's awesome because it means that like there's been a good imprint on them about it. So I guess to start with the guys that want to coach, that just shows it's a great character thing of like, hey, I'm ready to give back, and this game's given me so much, and I want to help. I want to help others grow now. So that's always awesome to see with our guys. The guys that go professional and whatnot, again, that's also one of our goals, right? Like we're producing better people and better rugby players. So when we can have that going for them, and they get to take things to the next level, that's so awesome for them, to see them achieve their dreams. And then also, more often than not, it's for Canada if they're doing that. So that means that they're helping our country compete. And there's no greater feeling than putting on the red and white. So for me, that's it always brings a tear to my eye when I see the guys run out on the pitch at the next level. It's just so cool.
What have been some of the things you've been able to accomplish so far?
For me, it's just I mean, at this point, because things are so fresh, I think it's just perennially remaining a top 8 team in the country. Um, we've been able to do that for the last 3 years. We were lucky enough to win a championship as a team through hard work, and then we made our way back to the final again. We've been in the final for 3 straight years. At one point, we were ranked third in Canada, which was quite cool. We didn't finish third that year, but it was cool. And just keep going to the dance. And ultimately, for me, the way I look at things is in a high performance environment. The most important thing ultimately will be how we end up doing. Our goal every week is to find a way to win, regardless of who's in the room. So my job right now, when it comes to accomplishing things, is making sure we have the right people in the room, and then getting them prepared for battle and trying to exercise their potential the most that I possibly can. And then hopefully, instead of just being that top 8 team in Canada here, we start being top 3 or the best one. And until we get to that point, frankly, then I feel the work's not done. And then once you get to the top, it's a whole new level of work because everyone's aiming for you. So it's just a steady process. Just keep aiming towards those things.
What was that experience like going to the championship and winning the championship?
I think we all cried. It was quite relieving. I mean, we were such a young program because we started in 2018, and then so then to climb the mountain after all those years in 2023, 6-year turnaround is a bit unheard of for a program. So it was pretty cool to get into the league and win a provincial championship that way, and just show like the growth and how things are going. Um, and oh my, it was a nail biter of a game. So when that whistle blew, I think we all just went sprinting out on the field and hugged everyone in sight. And we had a lot of fun on the bus back, and then we got back, and I don't know when we went to sleep that night, but I was not tired, that's for sure. I was one of the best days ever.
What are some of your future plans and goals for the program moving forward?
I think just keep growing good men, breeding winners, and breeding guys who can play rugby anywhere. I don't want them to become robotic. I think that's been sort of a fault of Canadian rugby over the years. And I just want guys to become autonomous players that can be plugged into any system, which I think we've been doing so far, because a lot of guys are going on to play basically anywhere, which is important to me. I think that along with that is just maintaining the culture, having that important knowledge transfer of, hey, this is how things are done here, this is how we treat each other, etc. And along with that, like growing better men, having them ready to go. We want to win ball games, and ultimately, like, we're here for the biggest national championship.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college rugby?
Just be a sponge. I think as a first year guy, the one thing you can do is just watch the veterans around you, listen to coaches, ask them questions, watch film, listen to everything everybody's saying, and take it all in. Be a sponge, because the more knowledge you have, the more prepared you are to compete. More often than not, it's not the athleticism that's holding guys back when they first come in. Frankly, it's their IQ, the ability to see the game, and that it's too fast for them when they first come. I mean, as time goes on, yeah, they need to get jacked and they need to get bulked up, but to win collisions. But ultimately, I think it's just use the resources around you before they're gone, and suddenly that's you. 100%, that would be my best advice.
What advice would you give those rugby players out there looking to go play on the professional level?
I think it just ties back into what I said almost, is like, I think character is so important, but ultimately, like that. So that means, hey, work your tail off at all times. And then with that character as well, it's super important to obviously get as much rugby in as you can, play, train, obviously take breaks when it's time. You have to hit the weights as well. It's just a combination of all those things. But I would say just don't become a system player. Become somebody who has the skills to execute whatever the coach needs. So focus way more on your skills, focus on playing what's in front of you, focus on playing what you see, all those things, because ultimately if you're able to play in anybody's system, you're far more likely to make it to the next level.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program?
Never let your ego take over. I think the second a coach has an ego is the second that he's hit his ceiling, or she. The important thing for us as coaches is to always be active learners, always be open to different viewpoints or mindsets, because ultimately something new might be better, or a new viewpoint might be better, and that's going to help your team and it's going to help you. So there's no reason not to listen, and it can come from anybody. So don't think you're too good for anyone.
What advice would you give those coaches like yourself looking to coach at their alma mater?
Well, I mean, I think I kind of just lucked into this. So in a way, like, it's got to be one of those right place, right time things. But I would say start by coaching some grassroots, get yourself certified, and see if you like it first. And then if you like it and it's something that you want to chase, then chase that passion. Keep those certifications going, get as much professional development as you can so that you're ready to coach at a higher level. And then when the opportunity comes, just grab it by the horns.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program at?
Pardon me, sorry?
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program?
Me, it's just at James Flemming, JamesFleming. And then on social media for the team, it would just be GG's M Rugby.
Thank you again, Coach James Flemming, for your interview, and best luck in your future as the head men's rugby coach at Ottawa Gee Gee.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brandon. This was awesome.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brain, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach James, for your interview, and best luck in your future.
My pleasure. Thank you, man.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.